Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Planet Therapy. Remember, this is a space where we have casual and light conversations surrounding work life balance, self love, and also empowerment. Today, I thought, let me have a good conversation with you guys about habits. This kind of been brought about because I've been reading this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's been amazing at just helping me understand a bit better more about my life and like routines and patterns I set myself to make sure that I stay a bit more of ahead of the curve and just make sure that I just have a bit more of a positive organization outlook of life. So, so I thought it might be great just first understand what habits actually are. And from the book and from my own research, from what I understand, habits are those where our brain forms, like, let's say, ways of us like doing certain activities. For example, when it comes to exercise, like making a habit of making sure you know how to go to the gym 3 times a week, or to do, let's say, running on the treadmill, then push ups and doing like bench press and stuff like that. And it uses those repetitive tasks that then your brain instinctively knows how what to do and when to do it. This even formulates within work. So, for example, you might come in and you start at 9 a.m. and your first thing to do might be to organize your day for what you got to do. You got to do, let's say, at 11 o'clock, you'll do X amount of calls. At 12 p.m., you got to do, let's say, I don't know, account planning and stuff like that. And then, you got lunch, and then you do other things, meetings, and then you leave at 5 o'clock. And it's like, it basically shortens the thinking time for you to then process these things, because it's almost becomes instinct. And those are sort of habits that can happen on a day to day, really. And I feel like when it comes to a conversation about habits, I feel like it's so everyone always talks about it's good to build good habits, and there's also bad habits that people might take on. For example, if someone's stressed, people might then bite the nails. It's something where it's like they don't really think about it, they just do it. And it's like understanding first, where do habits come from, in a way of like how to then change them, if that makes sense, and to build better habits as life goes on. So when I apply myself within this context, I feel like it was so, like I said, my New Year's goals was to work out consistently, and read more, and also, just the standard things where it's just like things that I want to just be able to do and not just fall out of line, and then just kind of go back to my usual way of programming, if that makes sense. So when I thought, okay, let me read this book, I think this was perfect for me to kind of understand, okay, how can I do it? Like, how can I make sure that I actually just transform my life in a way that I can actually just be a bit more proud of, in a way that I can set myself a routine? And some key takeaways I took from the start of the book was actually understanding that habits, or changing habits, is a way of like identifying with the person or the thing that you want to be. So, for example, I wanted to become a bit more active and a bit more like intentional with my days. So that meant that me being active meant I wanted to become someone that physically, I wanted to become fit. And I also wanted to have a bit more of a better understanding of mental health and just finding that sort of balance within that. So if I want to be someone that is intentional with their mental well-being, and also their physical well-being, and having an understanding of the different areas of my life, I had to do 1% changes, or very small changes, to make sure that I can build on that each day. And what the book's called, Atomic Habits. So what I started to do, which was like, okay, cool, I tried to go to the gym, it just wasn't working. I'll go for like a good week or two, and I'll be like, something will happen, I'm like, oh, okay, I can't go today. Then it was like, it just became easier for me to then not go. And it was like, okay, great, so we're just not being consistent in the gym, are we? So what I decided to do was like, okay, especially as I've been looking for jobs, I've been unemployed, it's like, I really wanted to make sure I just find a routine that works, so that I'm always busy and I'm always productive, and I'm just keeping my brain working. So what I do now is I set my alarm like I'm going to work or something. So I wake up at, let's say, 8 a.m. Give myself time to wake up, just to, get past the dreams or whatever's happened. And by 8:30 to 9, I'm like, okay, great, let's get this workout done. So I give myself an hour to procrastinate, whilst also having like a fixed workout plan. So I do like push-ups, I do sit-ups, I do squats, I do like a minute plank, and I do like star jumps and stuff like that. So it's like a very short workout, but it's also intense, which hits different areas from home. And I gradually increase it each week. And I felt like just doing that for myself each day has been so, like, at the beginning, it was hard. Like, to sit there and think, okay, I'm just going to do my push-ups, do this. Especially coming from a body where it wasn't doing that consistently for a very long time. And also I have some health issues and stuff. So it's just like, I just had to mentally get myself in that headspace. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And the first step was setting that alarm and starting off small in a way of things that I know I can manage at this time. So I started off with 20 push-ups, 20 squats, 20 whatever, because I know that was something I could manage. That also felt like I was working out, but it wasn't too excessive on my body. And doing that, I found that, oh my God, like it just became instinct. So for example, I had to help my sister at an event and had to wake up and leave my house by like 7:30 in the morning. Tell me why I woke up at like 6 a.m. and the first thing I was like, let me work out before I go. So I just literally just got out of bed and I just like, okay, let me just do my push-ups. And I did all of that and I felt so refreshed, took my vitamins and showered, everything got ready and I left. And I was like, wow, like it just became a point where I wasn't even thinking about getting up to do it because my body just got used to that sort of pattern and routine. So if I didn't do it, it felt odd, like there was something missing and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like I think I just did like a lighter version of that workout. But again, from the book, it taught me that it's a tiny change. It's a tiny thing that I adjusted to make sure at least I'm doing something rather than nothing, you know? And that same principle can fall into so many different areas. For example, holidays are great. So I know I want to go on a holiday. So what I would do is when I was getting paid is I would set aside, let's say just £100 or into like, let's say a holiday fund and let's say £300 into savings. So that then I can just, it's not too much. It's something that out of my paycheck and I'm not even looking at it. It just became something that's like, okay, that's just what I'm doing to make sure that I'm being financially responsible and setting good financial habits so that, okay, when it comes to now when I'm, was made redundant or just not working and stuff like that, I got savings and something to look forward to in case of emergency. And also I can book a holiday in advance. So yeah, it was just those small things that you can really do on each day to make sure that's like, okay, great. I'm being responsible. I'm taking charge. I'm trying to form good habits for myself. And yeah, it sounds easy, by the way, but it's like you have to kind of commit to it so that after, let's say, a good, I think, pivotal mark that I've heard is like 2 weeks, especially when it comes to working out. If you could be consistently working out for 2 weeks, it becomes so much easier as time goes forward to then have that as a go-to instinctual thing that your body just responds to, if that makes sense. So that's where good habits come from, and that's where it's like how to activate them. But it's also important to acknowledge like bad habits. Where do they come from? Like what? And I feel like it's so much easier to like let go of. It's so much easier to build bad habits than good habits. So I feel like, for example, hey, sometimes you might be stressed, you might be tired, and you just respond to your needs. Like, okay, you want a good pick me up? Might be let's just order food. My go-to is ordering Chinese. I'm so sorry. I'll order Chinese every time I'm a bit sad or like whatever. That's like just a treat. And then those treats will be like, okay, those treats will build up. It's like, okay, cool. Like you might be tired from work and you're like, oh, I actually need to go to the gym today. You're like, oh, I've had such a long day. Let me just rest. Da, da, da. And then you just get in a habit of when you go home, you go to sleep, which is like, it might sound not too bad, but when you make that a thing that you do, it becomes a bad habit because then it's like you could be doing so much other things that could be mentally more stimulating or mentally better for you in the long run, especially when you're trying to initiate those good habits. So those are things where it's like you just have to kind of be very conscious and very intentional with your time and your effort and what you want to do in order to kind of just drive, let's say, a better resolution of your life in a way where you're building these routines. Another aspect of the book that really, I guess, spoke to me was understanding goals. And people might disagree with me, but it's like, I try not to have so much of a focus to having goals for, let's say, monthly or yearly and stuff like that, because I feel like once you hit that goal more time often than not, you're kind of just left, okay, so what's next? So it's like, okay. And I feel like there's so much of a drive to like build these goals, when you hit them. And it's like, okay, so then what happens after that? Do I then go back to normal? Do I like, I don't know. It's like you're just kind of left in some sort of limbo, because it's like you kind of worked and been productive just to hit that one thing. And it's so much easier then for your body or routines and stuff that you built up to that point to reach that goal to then just go amiss. And I feel like I found it's really important to focus on a system. So when you combine, let's say, for example, you want to be able to have a holiday in the next 6 months. Cool. So naturally what you do is you put aside X amount of money to then make sure you have enough money, spending money for that holiday, to book your ticket and just have a great holiday. But then after that, the holiday's gone, you might then think, okay, great, that's done. And instead, when you can actually think about, oh, why not build a system that you know that, yeah, it will help you meet that goal of a holiday, but it's also helping you become more financially responsible, because you want to be known as a person that is financially responsible. So building those 1% habits, those tiny changes of always putting stuff on money away, you become used to that. And it's like, okay, great, I can always do something within my day to day to make sure that I'm always becoming a person that is financially responsible, or a person that travels, or a person that is just intentional with their time, and that goes to work. So it's like you might have goals to kind of meet, let's say 5 meetings a month when it comes to sales calls or stuff like that. So for that month, you might be heavy on LinkedIn searches. You might be doing so many different email campaigns on calls and driving up that sort of like call rate. And then when you meet that target, like for like, let's say that month, and it's like, okay, great. And it's like, you're just back to normal habits. It's like, okay, good. So from when you was making, let's say 80 calls that day, you've now gone back down to 30. And it's like, because you just gone back to normal, isn't it? When in retrospect, it's so important to just be like, okay, cool. Let me take a step back with that. I want to identify as a person that meets the targets, yes, but it's always, let's say, overachieving. How am I going to do that? I'm going to then make it a habit to also maybe do LinkedIn posts quite like, let's say, set days, like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm going to do these posts regardless of whether there's like a big campaign going on or not, just to make sure that I'm always increasing my social platform, so that you build yourself a brand and you become known for someone that is good at social selling, or as a marketer, or as a developer. But you're just being consistent. And I think that element of building consistency helps with the whole habit situation, to make sure it's like, okay, great. I'm not just doing this to meet a goal. I'm doing this because I want to identify as a better worker, or as a better performer. And these things are going to help me shape to become that person. And so far, those are key things that I think really stick with me. And it's funny because I feel like situations I've gone on, let's say with my life currently, has really forced me to build a routine. Like not having friends that I had before, or not having, let's say, a job currently and stuff like that, has forced me to really sit down with myself and be like, okay, who is Marcus? Like, who am I? What do I want to be? What do I want to become? What do I want to be known for? And it's given me so much time and thought and energy to be like, okay, great. Let me actually start these routines and working out. Let me build a podcast. Let me do so much more reading. Let me build my platform on LinkedIn and stuff like that. Let me have so much more engaging conversations with other people to understanding their mental health or what works for them. And even having people on the platform, I'm learning so much from them and having these conversations. And it's all because I want to identify as a person that is intentional with their time, is intentional with their mental well-being, and is also trying to be a good performer and worker in what I want to engage in, you know? So, yeah, I hope this helps. Again, I think this conversation just surrounding habits, I feel like it's a casual conversation, and I feel like it's a conversation that it does happen, and I feel like it's really good to have that sort of teaching to know, okay, how can I become a person that I feel proud of, and in a way that is simple, like it's simple, small things that you know you can do each day when you evaluate the different areas of your life to make sure that you're always building and progressing, no matter where you go. Because even if it's like it talks about 1%, even make 1% change each day, at the end of the year, you've made 367. I know my maths. You made 365% effort or improvement within whatever you try to improve on, So let's just do that today. And if you have any sort of comments or feedback or just anything to keep the conversation going, let me know. We can build on this. My LinkedIn, Marcus Johnson. And yeah, I hope you had fun listening, and I hope that there was something you could take away from this, because I know I did. And yeah, take care and peace.